Hello everyone and welcome back. Keeping with tradition, I am very late on my One Piece chapters, so I'm covering chapter 1152 now. That was 2 weeks ago, and I think I'll record this one today, and I'll do 1153 tomorrow. So, double-edged sword. It's a good thing there's a break week so I can actually catch up, because I've got to do my Boruto video as well. But also, there's a break week. I hate that there's a break week. I want more One Piece. But it's good that Oda keeps his mental health in check, and has proper rest and recovery. So that's good. So anyway, let's dive on in. As always, one of the best things about One Piece is they always have a lovely cover story going on, and well, this one's been going on for a while. But maybe it's leading to something else. But we continue with Yamato's cover story, and this time they are delivering the God, I'm going to pronounce this horribly, Amigasa hat that Otama created, and it's being delivered to Kawamatsu. The what was he? He's a weird amphibian guy. I've forgotten what creature they say he is. It's a mythological creature. But anyway, delivered it to him. And that's the continuation of the cover story. I still love that Ulti and Page One are following her against her will. Does that make them allies of the Straw Hats? Maybe. Alright, so we're carrying on where they left off. They've the ones in the underworld have realised there's something going on up above and they need to rush. So they're rushing to the lift. They tell Gerd to keep looking after that fool. Do your best with that fool, Gerd, which is obviously referring to Loki. And we see in the middle panels that the first one's on the lift ship thing. It's Road and, well, these two giants that I don't remember the name of. They've probably been named. They're probably not important, but whatever. They're the first ones on the ship. Lift thing. And we see at the bottom here that Gerd is obviously going to treat Loki, and Chopper's going to stay down and treat Gaban, who can't be moved due to the seriousness of his injuries. And just before Luffy's going to head off, Gaban speaks up and seems to want to speak to Luffy. What's really cool here is that Gaban basically, without saying it, confirms that he used Conqueror's Haki to bypass the Holy Knight's immortality, and Luffy is going to take the charge and save everyone, including Colin. And also, at the bottom, Loki's eager to join the fight as well. But I don't know if that's just him wanting to get his cuffs off. But Hadrudin still seems to be a bit skeptical. But I'd like to see this cuff removed. I want to see what Loki can do. And yes, as we see, Hadrudin still doesn't trust Loki. Doesn't want to take him with him, but Hadrudin's a jerk, I think. But also, well, it's not a big surprise. Gaban, while looking at Zoro and Sanji, says that he detects Conqueror's Haki in another one of them. And we already know it's Zoro, but Sanji's like, because he's amongst the direction Gaban's looking, mistakes it for him. But he immediately just corrects him and says, "Oh yeah, it's the swordsman." And Zoro's like at the bottom here. "Oh, I have Conqueror's Haki. Didn't know." And interestingly, interesting is like Luffy can detect it. It's flowing out of him apparently. And Gaban just kind of yells at Zoro for not realizing he has Conqueror's Haki and isn't using it efficiently. You apparently need to consciously control Conqueror's Haki to get the best use out of it. So that's a thing. Also, I do think Sanji will eventually get Conqueror's Haki. What do you guys think? Do you think Sanji will get Conqueror's Haki? I do. So carrying on from that, Sanji is eager to ask Gaban if he also has Conqueror's Haki, but at that moment, before he could even get an answer, Loki starts yelling about why would they use outsiders to defend Elbaf when they've already got him. And this is when Hadrudin yells back that he just thinks that Loki would betray Elbaf and side with the world government, and apparently he already did this in the past. or almost, which seems a bit weird because we've already seen that Loki idolized the Rock's pirates, and that's about as anti-government as you can get. But before the yelling match can go on, we see at the bottom the other giants who already boarded the ship lift are yelling at these guys for wasting time because they need to get back to the upper world and like save everyone. And the more time they waste, there'll be more victims. But before they can do that, now Luffy wants to talk with Loki. And what does he want to say to Loki? He just asks him to join his crew, with the reasoning that if he joins Luffy's crew, then Hadrudin can just set him free because he's now part. He can't have a member of the Straw Hat crew cuffed, I guess. But we see in the middle here that Zoro and Sanji say the objections that I'm sure we're all thinking of, that he's too big, he can't fit on their ship, and he also would eat way more food than Luffy. And it's always funny to see Zoro and Sanji on the same page. And then Luffy just knocks it aside. It's his nonchalant reasoning for asking someone to join his crew. It's like, oh, Elbaf doesn't want you around, and if anyone's got a problem, I'll just kick their ass. Classic. And we also see at the bottom that Loki just immediately shouts at Luffy that he doesn't want to be Luffy's underling. But Luffy just kind of ignores it. And it seems like Hadrudin might be potentially relenting. Is that what his instinct tells him? And Luffy's just like, I want to see him fight. And I think he's speaking for the like One Piece fan base here. Like, everyone wants to see Loki fight, right? But as they get pressured to hurry up so they can use the lift, we see that Hadrudin is not relenting after all, and says that Loki is condemned to death and Luffy can't have him. And Luffy just seems to accept this. But in the middle, Gaban now asks for Hadrudin to release Loki's chains. Much to Hadrudin's upset in the bottom, where he recalls what, the fight that was described in earlier chapters, and it seems like all the blame for like the death of 113 guard giants and the king himself, the wound to Jirul, is all being pinned on Loki. So understandable resentment from that. But Gaban chimes in and says that they detected an abnormal extreme haki from the castle that day of all the deaths, and that he and Shanks, what am I pronouncing Shanks that way for? He and Shanks headed to the castle, but they didn't see the whole thing because they weren't there when it happened. And when Hadrudin tries to pipe in being like, oh yeah, we were there, but Luffy, hearing Shanks, I keep saying Shanks, I'm British, I'm not doing enough to speak posh all the time. Luffy, being the big Shanks fan he is, just hears Shanks and starts playing. Oh, you said Shanks. And this is where they decide to split the party, because there's obviously no reasoning. So the giants are already on the ship, including Road and those two other giants, as well as Zoro and Sanji are going to head up first. And I love this bit where it's like Zoro just calls Luffy a Shanks-obsessed fool, and Luffy just hears Shanks and fool, I guess, and thinks, don't call him a fool. And it's like Sanji corrects him and says, he's talking about you idiot. Again, Zoro and Sanji on the same page. Always hilarious. But we get Loki and Gaban sort of interacting, and Gaban urges Loki to recall the events of what happened that day to Hadrudin to see if it will sway his mind. And interestingly, very Norse, I suppose, Hadrudin demands that if he's a true warrior of Elbaf, then he must swear by the name of God and speak the truth. Loki calls it a cruel demand to have to recall the events of that day, and says that he'd rather not remember the details. It was a horrible day. But we start the flashback 14 years ago in Orest Castle, Elbaf. Chief Jarul and Loki have been summoned to the castle, and he's obviously Loki's already a menace because the guards seem to not like that he showed up. But anyway, it looks like Jarul and Loki are just going to converse a bit. They're on good terms. Look at how they tower over the other giant guards, though. It's insane. And Loki doesn't seem too interested on being there because I guess Harold has got favourable ties with the government, and Loki, as I alluded to earlier, hates the government because they killed the rock pirates, and he admired the rock pirates. So we get Jarul saying, is that Jarul? It is. Yeah, I think that's Jarul saying it, saying, lower your volume, I'm an old man now, I'd rather leave the politics to the younger folks. And then Loki just chiming in and saying, you know, your lackadaisical attitude is what's going to get the children like addicted to peace and not being able to fight. So he's clearly fond of warrior giants. Very similar to Immu, ironically, considering he hates the world government. So then we've just got Jarul talking, as he's done before, he just starts talking about how cute Ylva is, his great-great-great-great-great-granddaughter or whatever. And Loki just yells at him that he should just be training her up as a warrior. But they continue heading on to the throne room, and guards are happy to see Jarul, and they're like, oh, hello, Jarul, great to meet you. Oh, and Loki is like, he tried to cover it, but Loki's like, I heard that, you arse. But for some reason, they seem to stall and want to check that the king's fine, right? And Loki is having none of it. He's got no patience and just kicks the door down and announces, hey, Pop, I'm back. But something cuts him off. And we see what cut him off. He's just seen that Harold has been impaled by his royal guard. Pretty much all of them. There's, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? 5 weapons going through him. So it appears Loki did not kill Harold. And this obviously shocks Jarul and Loki immensely. Begs the question of what Jarul's been doing all this time. Why didn't he defend Loki or fight his case or whatever? Maybe we'll find out. Maybe there's a reason for that. So now we've established what's going on there. We're changing scenes to Gaban's house. And it appears there's 2 people talking here. And we find out in the middle set of panels that it's Shanks and Gaban. And this is what was obviously being referred to by Gaban momentarily ago, about how he and Shanks were there and detected an extreme, bizarre hockey. I keep mispronouncing everything today. Hockey. Anyway, this is before that detection anyway. And interestingly, I don't know if he's lost track of time, but he says, oh, has it been 3 or 4 years? And Shanks is like, oh, dude, it's been 10 years. Now, this could just be Gaban losing track of time, but I've seen people theorize that time in Elbaf might flow differently. That's an interesting theory. I think there's some weight to it, but we'll see if that's the case, especially with the amount of time the Straw Hats are spending there at the moment. But we also two interesting panels at the bottom here that after Shanks, after obviously the Roger Pirates disbanded, Shanks' plan was to meet up with Buggy and form a casual, laid-back pirating crew. That would have been funny and cool. Obviously didn't happen. And Gaban calls Shanks a child of fate. Sounds very Naruto, with Jiraiya's constant child of prophecy. But let's not muddy the waters and mix Naruto with One Piece. But he starts recalling events on Little Garden because I guess they followed a similar path that the Straw Hats are following a similar path to what the Roger Pirates did. But then, boom, surprise, Ripley just shows up through an open window or whatever that is and surprises the hell out of Shanks. And Gaban just finds it entertaining. But also in the middle. And the interesting kind of setup they have to have a home that accommodates both a giant and a human. And Shanks is about to tell Ripley about all the relationships Gaban got into at all the ports they stopped at, which obviously infuriates Gaban, saying that in front of his not wife, but sort of wife, whatever the word they used for it. But yeah, Gaban starts telling Shanks about Gaban. Gaban starts telling Shanks about Harold. And again, interesting point is that Shanks says that he met him in Marijoa and they got along. So it begs the question here: what was Harold doing in Marijoa, and what was Shanks doing in Marijoa? I thought I thought he sort of rejected all his like world noble like background. Is he freely allowed to just go there, even though he's a pirate, or did he sneak in? It's strange. I need to know more about his world noble backstory. I really do. But apparently there was something Shanks wanted to discuss with Harold, but he couldn't do it in the Holy Land. So he wants to speak to him while he's in Elbaf. Bit late for that, unfortunately, but he doesn't know that. And we now jump to the moment of the strange extreme haki eruption. I guess that's what it's showing here in this panel here. From the castle. Then see guards getting slaughtered. And you see them detecting that the moment they detected the haki. Get Chief Jarul receiving his weird like head sword wound, and somebody coming across a treasure chest that supposedly contains a forbidden devil fruit, the treasure of Elbaf. But they say at the end of this page here, but what was it that caused people to praise him so? And you know what that means, of course. We're going even further back in flashbacks, 109 years into the past, where the most feared thing on the sea were the original giant pirate crew, still led by Jory and Brogy by the looks of it. And also, to contribute to the fear of Elbaf was the royal ship. And we get a giant looking at apparently a cute princess. But even more interestingly, on the next page, we see Harold towering over a human civilization and looking very monstrous at the same time, just destroying their castle, saying, oops, my foot slipped. And I'm pretty sure, judging by his reaction, he did that on purpose. He apparently ascended the throne at the age of 45 in human, which is 15 in human years, so very young. And seems to be suggesting here that giants age 3 times slower than humans, I guess. And humorously, at the end they call him undeniably a low-life scumbag. So young Harold was a jerk, and that is where the chapter ends. So it's interesting. It looks like we're heading into more and more flashbacks. I've already read as I said, I'm already late. I've already read next week's chapter. There's more flashbacks, but we're not going further back next time. We're flashing back and going forward, seeing Harold's life. It's really interesting, and I look forward to sharing my thoughts when I do my review. Probably put that together tomorrow because I'm tired right now. I just want to get this edited together and uploaded. But it's all interesting. It's all this backstory and lore, and we get to find out the truth of what happened, the day Harold was murdered. But we're also apparently going to find out more stuff, because you don't need to go back this far to find out about what happened on the day Harold was murdered. So we're getting Harold backstory. So look forward to that, and I will see you in the next video. But as always, thank you for watching. Bye.